Hi, everybody, this is Gerald, the release function nutrition consultant, and today I want to talk about food sensitivity, foods allergies. It's actually a big problem. What we do in our initial evaluation is we find out first off, are there any barriers that are preventing people from healing? Sorry, and one of those barriers is actual specifically the consumption of foods that are causing inflammation. And how do you know if a food is causing inflammation? Well, obviously, if you have any bowel distress, so if you have problems with digesting foods, maybe as soon as you eat a certain food, you have to go make a trip to the bathroom, or you get bloated, or you have gas with an odor, or gas without an odor. Those are indicative of different things. Some other areas that you can know if you have some specific food that's possibly causing you problems is known as the Coca Pulse test. So a doctor actually correlated with the increase of heart rate specifically occurring after the consumption of foods that an individual may have specific sensitivities to. So if you experience any heart irregularities after consuming certain foods, sometimes you may even feel a little swollen. It may swollen the mouth, swollen the throat, just overall perhaps some edema or retaining water throughout the body. So these are indicators that you might have some challenges with specific foods. Also, skin issues. So if someone has dermatitis or psoriasis or eczema, then it's going to be important to look at the underlying inflammatory causes, and some of those issues may be caused by specific foods. Now, the only way to really know is to have yourself evaluated or tested to see if there's a specific food that might be the culprit. Now, obviously, if some of you have tried to eliminate food in particular, maybe 1 day or 2 days, it's usually not enough to clear the bloodstream, because the immune system does create an actual immune response to food that it is not, it's not in particular fond of. And so it does take a few days to weeks for a particular food to clear the bloodstream. And then what that means is the cytokines, or those proteins that are causing inflammation, may take a while to leave the body, and then ultimately you may see some symptom decrease. So we do implement an elimination diet in our clinic. And elimination diet is where someone avoids specific foods for a short period of time. And what that does is it gives the immune system a chance, a break, and it gives the body a chance to heal. And we start to see the inflammation come down. And naturally, when that inflammation comes down, we can actually see resolution to some of a patient's symptoms. Okay, so now figuring out what those foods are can take work and take effort, but oftentimes if you work with someone who's experiencing this, it becomes a very simple process. And so there are also lab tests that we run. And in our clinic, we can identify which specific foods might be inflammatory for you through our muscle response testing. So we have homeopathic vials that hold the frequencies and the signatures of specific foods. So that will give us immediately what foods that you can avoid to start the process of feeling better. We also run some labs, and I'll just put on screen here briefly. There is a particular lab that we order multiple different labs, and this is just an example. This is a sample report, so it's not an actual patient, but what we do order are IgE tests as well as IgG, IgA, and we can order an IgG4 as well as a C3d that does give different types of information. And the IgE is typically what you find is considered an allergy, and oftentimes this can be more of an immediate response, but it doesn't necessarily mean anaphylaxis. It doesn't mean necessarily someone is going to start suffocating and having breathing challenges. IgG is more related to food sensitivities as well as IgA. So many of you have heard that the majority of your immune system is in your bowel, and that is because of the presence of the IgA being in such high quantities within the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract, for those who have never heard GI before. So keep in mind that 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your bowel because there's so many immunoglobulins. And immunoglobulin, I just want you to key in on that term, globulin. Globulin indicates that it's a protein. So a lot of these immune system fighting, these infection fighting substances, immunoglobulins, are made of protein. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the previous presentation on protein, be sure to go and take a look at that. But our immune system is relying on proteins, but at the same time, we have to be digesting proteins properly so that they don't cause bowel inflammation, leading to a condition known as leaky gut syndrome. Because we do find in a lot of cases with autoimmune challenges that there is a leaky gut syndrome where these undigested proteins are getting downstream into the lower bowel. Okay, so they're not being properly digested in, they're not being properly chewed, and they're not being properly coated with amylase or saliva. And then when they get to the stomach, there's just insufficient hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes going there to further break down these proteins into the constituents that our body can absorb and then reuse to build our body. So keep that in mind. Now, if you suspect that you have any type of food sensitivity or challenge, or you experience certain symptoms, specifically after a meal, it's important that you get tested, whether it's myself or some colleagues. We can do remote testing as well. We can ship you these kits, and you can start to uncover what is going on. Now, once we identify what foods are a particular challenge to an individual, then we're going to request and recommend that you minimize your exposure to those foods to give your body a break. And then at the same time, we're going to initiate specific digestive enzyme therapies. Now, there are different digestive enzyme formulas out there that vary from not only the quantity of the enzymes, but as well as the variety of enzymes that can be found in a particular formula. And we customize exactly which digestive enzymes. Now, if you don't have time and you want to feel better fast, just go ahead and pick up any bottle of digestive enzymes, knowing that you're getting some relief, but for targeted, precise support to break down specific food residues that are causing inflammation inside your body, we do find out what exactly that any and every individual needs. Okay, so the first is to start avoiding food. It's in a way a temporary small select list that's considered an elimination diet. Okay, and of course, you're going to work to increase your consumption of foods that are going to help rebuild your body. So don't just skip eating altogether. I know many individuals have tried different diets and they just say, you know what, I just don't feel comfortable consuming any foods. And usually when you find just the one or two, it's very easy to stay on a program and continue nourishing your body. Okay, so the first step is an elimination diet of some sort. And then the second is implementing some form of digestive enzyme therapies, whether it's to help with hydrochloric acid production and or digestion of fats, carbohydrates, or proteins. And so taking specific enzymes. And there's a variety of enzymes out there. I won't necessarily go into much detail. Okay, and then the second is to start consuming foods that help heal the gut lining. So things like aloe, like fresh pressed aloe, as well as green leafy juices with lots of chlorophyll. So anything that's green and fresh juice, not heated, not pasteurized, chlorophyll can actually help heal the gut lining. Same thing with foods that are rich in what was called vitamin U back in the day. So that includes also juicing cabbage juice, but make sure it's organic. Okay, you don't want to get pesticides, but juicing organic cabbage juice, and that has a lot of phytonutrients that actually help with the gut lining. There are many herbs that also help with repairing the gut lining herbs such as chamomile and meadowsweet, and even some forms or even a little bit of licorice can be helpful with that. And so there are certain herbs and nutrition that can be done to help heal the gut lining. Even fenugreek is a great one. There's a lot of great herbs and nutritional support that can be done to help the gut lining repair itself. And then once the gut lining is healed and the digestion is starting to be bolstered and the body's level of inflammation is starting to decrease, then I recommend that you go in and start to have your immune system rebalance, so it's no longer hyperactive to these specific foods. Okay, and that can take some time. It could take specific therapies out there that are real effective. And then at that point, once your immune system is balanced, your digestion is working properly, and your inflammation has come down tremendously, then at that point, you can slowly introduce one food at a time so that we can see how well your body's responding. And so this is normally how we work with our clients. And ultimately, we want everybody to be able to eat their food with intention and to eat it, be able to eat it purposely, and ultimately focusing on the highest quality ingredients while making sure that your physiology, all your organs are optimal and functioning optimal, so that you can make sure you're digesting all of your food thoroughly, and B, be able to absorb it so you can assimilate it and use it to rebuild a healthier version of yourself. So anyways, this is just another segment talking about food sensitivities, food allergies. And if you suspect that you have any issues with food, meaning you're not digesting it, you're not absorbing it, or it's causing you problems, give us a call and we can help you investigate what the root causes to your health challenges.